Anyway, next question. They're basically, I'll rack these three into one. Will cardio ruin your gains? Is cardio even necessary? And is it possible to train for something like a marathon while also doing resistance training? What are your thoughts, Gary? Seeing as you have extensive running background.
Part one was, is cardio going to kill your gains? So yes and no. Yes, in a sense that the more cardio you do, the lower probability you're going to maximize muscle building outcomes. There's kind of two parts to that. One is time. Okay. If you're doing, I don't know, 20 hours of cardio per week or something, like clearly that's going to leave you with very limited time to engage in weight training. And two is overall recovery capacity. Okay. So if you're constantly recovering from your cardio training or your running or your cycling or whatever, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to the gym, to give it your all, and for your legs in particular to be fresh for that activity. So you're not going to be able to handle as much volume. You're not going to be able to push yourself as hard, and that can limit your capacity to continue building muscle. There's also going to be some like adaptations that are specific to very high volumes of cardio training, like shifts in muscle fiber type and things like that, that could potentially interfere with you being able to maximize your muscle building. So I think at the extreme, yes, it can compromise it, but for most people, like most people aren't even meeting the basic requirements for health, whatever about performance. So I think most people don't have to worry about this at all. A lot of my clients struggle to kind of get near that threshold of 120 to 150 minutes of cardio per week. So that's not that much. That's like the health recommendations for cardio. So if my clients, who are probably more motivated than the average person in the general population, are struggling to get that, then like I'm just generally not worried about someone doing too much cardio. It's probably not much of an issue. And in some cases, it might even be beneficial for your gains, in particular for people who have an appetite that's very sensitive to cardio. I find that myself, where I'll get a disproportionate increase in my appetite when I'm doing more cardio, which is good because it allows me to eat the calories I require then to continue gaining weight, gaining muscle. And then there's the other side where the fitter you are, the more easily you recover from your resistance training. So if you find that being short of breath during your weight training sessions is a significant limiting factor, then improving that cardiorespiratory fitness might actually improve your weight training adaptations. It's speculative and it certainly depends on the person, but there is a case to be made there. Secondly, our second part of your question was, is cardio necessary? I would say yes, if you want to be or have a diverse base of fitness and you want to maximize your health, I would say cardio is necessary. Weight training is certainly going to improve your health. It's certainly going to improve your function in terms of having more muscle strength. But what it won't do for you is really maximize that cardiorespiratory fitness that is generally associated with improved all-cause mortality, reduced risk of many, many diseases, as is weight training. But the benefits are probably additive because they do different things. And obviously, in terms of your function, if you have better cardiorespiratory fitness, you're going to be able to do the things that matter to you for longer. And that's a good thing. So if I want to go for a hike and I'm on holidays and it's a 2,000 meter mountain and I've never climbed mountains before, but I know I've been doing cardio in the gym all the time, I at least know that I have that engine to be able to go and do that task. And those things matter to people. The same can be said for like playing with your kids, particularly as you get older and you get the natural declines in fitness and muscle mass. If you've trained to build up a better reserve earlier on in life, it's more likely you're going to be able to do those things for longer. So is it necessary? I would say yes. You know, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. So there you go.
100% agree with you.
And finally, what was the last one is, can you train for a marathon
while also doing resistance training?
You certainly can. I had my client James McIntyre this year do 100K while still being jacked and pretty strong, deadlifting over 200 kilos for reps. So, I mean, he's a case example. But with that said, he had done many years of weight training, many years of other types of fitness that had laid his base prior to that. If you were to start from day one as a beginner and say, I'm going to train to try to maximize my muscle mass and I'm going to run a marathon, are you going to get the best outcome in each of those? No, of course you're not, because the marathon is something that less than 1% of people are ever going to do in their lifetime. It's a very extreme event, okay, even though it's only 4 hours or whatever, that's still pretty extreme. Okay, you're running 42K. So the training for that could be up to, 100 kilometers of running per week, or even a lot more for some people. So if you're doing all of that activity, you run into the barriers that I mentioned previously, where you got less time for your weight training and less resources to allocate to your weight training. So you can certainly do both, and you can certainly make progress with both, but you won't get best results with either if you're doing them together.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I actually have nothing else really to add to that, because
Fantastic.
it basically just goes on to what we talked about previously in terms of periodization. There's going to be times where you focus more on resistance training. There's going to be times where you focus more on like your marathon training, like, coming up to a marathon, whatever, the 16 to 20 weeks beforehand, you're probably going to be more focused on that. So your resistance training is going to be less, 1-2 sessions per week, whereas at other times you might be like, right, actually I don't have a marathon planned, or running isn't the main focus, so I'm actually going to use that time to maybe build a bit of muscle, rehab a few injuries, etc. That's basically periodization. That's what we talked about in the last episode. There's going to be periods of time where you're focusing on different things.